and welcome to Issues and Society, a program that discusses trending issues as it affects our day-to-day living. I am Zainab Obitin. As we continue with the discussion on the microfinance banks in Nigeria, joining us this morning to discuss the recent revocation of the license of some of these banks in the microfinance sector by the CBN is the national president of the Association of Microfinance Banks in Nigeria, in person of Joshua Okute. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
With an ever-evolving society, there are everyday issues in the marketplace, in government, in our social lives, even in our homes. Issues and Society brings these happenings to you. Join us on this station. For sponsorship and advert placement, please call 081-100-00712, or better still, follow us on our social media handles.
Still looking at the microfinance operations, me here is still the national president of the microfinance banks in Nigeria, of course, in the person of Mr. Joshua Okute. So it's a pleasure, as always, having you on the show.
Thank you.
Now, there's a very disturbing issue within your sector, and that will be the revocation of some of your members' licenses, and it has become a major ripple in your sector. What is the situation with the current position of this revocation, and how is it affecting your association?
Okay, thank you very much. Last week, May 23rd to be precise, we got the news of the revocation of about 179 microfinance banks in Nigeria. And out of the about 897, so that means we still have active over 700 microfinance banks in this country. And we received the news with shock, and it has not really been palatable to us, because we never really wish that any of our members go down. But like I have said at different for people have called, asked, and I've said, look, some of these banks have long closed shops, so it's like they're just making it official that these banks are no longer doing business.
Now, what do you think this multiplying effect will be, in your sector?
Naturally, once a financial institution is closed officially, there will be scampering for withdrawal of funds by customers. But what we are doing at the secretariat at the association level is to ensure that these customers confidence is boosted, built. Some of our customers have called to say, hey, what's happening to our funds, and let them know that, look, the industry is still strong and is growing. There will be a little bit negative ripple effect, but over time, once they know that the over 700 microfinance banks that are still operating are still there and are still strong, I'm sure the market will bounce back for us.
Now to the banking population with the microfinance bank, you want to express, or you want to share with us the reason for this revocation, so that it is clear.
Okay, so sometime in 2019, the central bank came out with a guideline that microfinance banks needed to recapitalize. The CBN does this over and over again every time. They do that with the regular commercial banks. They've done that with the mortgage banks, finance companies. So microfinance banks were asked to recapitalize in 2019. We're given up till April 30th, 2021 to recapitalize. And because of the COVID experience that we had in 2020, it was extended for another 1 year to 2022. Because so there are different tiers of capital. That was when CBN came out with the various capital base for both the national, state, and the units became tier 1 and tier 2 unit. And the essence of the capitalization is to make the industry stronger, to make the microfinance subsector stronger and more aware to the kind of business they do, so that to be able to at least have the strength to take on shocks. So I think CBN meant well for the industry, and most banks, if not all the banks, most banks really added to their capital base and are doing business better now.
Now you want to disabuse the minds of some of the banking public that funds trapped in those closed microfinance banks are safe.
Yes, every financial institution regulated by CBN and NDIC, have their funds covered under the deposit insurance. So usually, for those customers that have funds in those banks, I have said it before that we don't expect depositors to lose their funds, because they are well insured under the deposit insurance of the NDIC. So it may take a while. Some of these banks, like over the 179, we're looking at the list recently, but even just today, looking at the list, and some of them have long closed shops. So some of them, in fact, there are a few of them that wrote us and said, look, we don't have any liability. Okay, we took over a bank that had no liability, and however, the timing to get these funds together or put some documents together lapsed on us when CBN came out with this hammer. So for the few ones that have funds in those banks, I'm sure their funds are safe.
Now, what does it mean for licenses of financial institutions? How heavy are these fears when such licenses are revoked? What message does it send to the banking population in the society?
It's not a positive message. We all know what happened to Silicon Valley Bank recently. They had issues in the US. So the truth is, once a license is revoked, that means that bank can no longer open to the public. And once a bank, be it a microfinance, we had other mortgage banks on that list. We have financial companies on that list, and finance companies on that list. Sorry. So once a bank can no longer open to the public, it sends a message that, oh, what is happening? Are we safe? But the truth is, periodically this is done. Some banks on their own, we either come for measures. Some on their own, we either maybe have acquisition, and some in the rare event, CBN will come and say, hey, you guys don't have enough capital, you can't continue taking customers and deposit. So it doesn't give a good perception to the public. However, because these funds and these banks are not just running in isolation, I think there is comfort and succor for them, for the customers.
Now, you agree with me that 179 number is huge. Now, for such numbers to have lost out in the system, what level of confidence do people who patronize, microfinance, what level of confidence will they still have, doing businesses with microfinance banks?
Okay, so for microfinance banks, the way we are structured, I think the last time when you were here, I was explaining to you that usually you see an average microfinance bank balance sheet. Usually you will see that the asset side, that means in asset terms of loans, usually maybe at par or outweighs the deposit. Yes, there are few that there are customers that really bring deposit into. I agree. So for those who have deposit with microfinance banks and who probably maybe under microfinance bank next door's license be revoked, the fear will be there. But at the association level and with the regulators, we are ensuring that this customers' confidence is rebuilt. So we have embarked on vigorous sensitization to make them understand that, look, the banks that you have now is for bigger. For example, the commercial banks, remember those days that we had over close to 90 commercial banks. Right now, how many of those commercial banks do we have? And the truth is that people are still doing business. So business comes, business goes. So it's either they get bigger, they get stronger. And even those microfinance banks that are alive now or that are doing business now, some of them were maybe in the previous years were just small units MMBs, and now they are grown bigger. They've merged. Some have been acquired, and they are doing bigger things. They are serving more customers. They're getting to more cities to reach customers. I'm sure over time, the public confidence will be restored.
New government is in place, and one of the speech in the inauguration was about unified, exchange rates. You want to, as a finance guru, you want to further explain what those terms, mean by unified, exchange rates in the economy.
Okay, so unified exchange. It's only in Nigeria you have exchange rates such as you have the official window that is say 460 something, and you get from the official window 460 something, go to the parallel market, it's as high as 770 now. So once you have a unified exchange rate, that means that FX fluctuation will reduce to its barest minimum. And for those that we serve in our segment, most of the things they deal in, it's either they buy goods that are FX dependent. Right now the issue of fuel, the fuel subsidy and everything, and people are kind of subsidy. It is because of this unified exchange rate. If we had a stable exchange rate, that we know, okay, this is our exchange rate because we are import fuel now. Everything is dependent on dollar. Nigeria is still a highly import dependent country. So we need to have that exchange rate unified so that we move on from there. Having two or three exchange rates, has never spelled anything good for this country. So we need to have that.
Now you are a finance guru. The question is, why, apart from Nigeria being largely dependent on importation, why is the naira so weak in the international market as a finance expert?
Well, it's I don't think we need an expert to. Everybody knows the law of economics is there. If you have few cash chasing so much goods, definitely you will have the effect. So the naira is weak, definitely, because have you taken into cognizance the effect of the naira in the last 2 years? When, for example, let me just give you one aspect. In the last 2 years, we have seen a lot of Nigerians leave this country in droves. Let us even take that window where people go to school abroad, education, tourism now, what do you call it? What they call Jakba. Do you know how many families would need to source for foreign exchange to pay for tuition fees abroad? Now, how do this foreign exchange come? They come from our exports. Nigeria is not exporting that much to earn enough to meet the demand of our foreign, our foreign exchange demand as a country. So if export is reduced, the last year we were we had about issue about insecurity concerning our vessels, our oil. At the time, Nigeria was not even meeting 25% of its daily. So at that point, we were earning less. So our foreign reserve was going down. However, our FX demand was also increasing. So definitely, the naira will get weak. But once our exports increases to that level and our foreign reserve, just imagine 50% of those that went to school abroad are schooling here. One, they will need to pay their school fees in dollars or in pounds. So the pressure on the FX will be reduced. So that will further strengthen our naira. So it's I think it's a demand and supply thing. In this country now, everything is almost FX dependent. It's only this country you see people say, I want to buy something from you and I'm paying you in dollars. It doesn't make any sense.
In the inaugural speech of Mr. President,
Yeah.
talked about subsidy removal, and soon as that was made public, everything in Nigeria went, as concerns PMS, the prices skyrocketed, and you have that now. Will you subscribe to the era of subsidy, and will it have any effects on the finance sector of Nigeria?
Okay, so let me give my personal opinion on subsidy. I've always argued, and I've said that I will take up anybody that care to listen. I'm sure a lot of people will say, no, this boy, you're not saying this thing. I've always argued that personally, I wouldn't support subsidy removal. Now, what is the reason? And I think it's only recently I heard somebody on TV say the same thing I'm about to say. Because we have trust issues in this country. The trust deficit of government is high. So the question is, yes, it's good. What government is saying is that, or what economists are saying is that funds that should have gone to other developmental cause, they are paying it to certain set of people who say they are bringing in crude oil. In fact, there's even this argument that how much of this oil do we consume? Okay, let us do an audit. How much do we consume? Is it 100 million? Is it whatever? Those ones are there. Yes, some are saying these money are going to private pocket. But the ordinary man on the street that we deal with, what they want to know is that the effect on my business, the effect on my family. Once subsidy is removed, you are saving a certain amount, right, as a government. The question is the government ready to tell us that, look, we'll be accountable to this X amount that is being saved, and it will be used for the purposes that it should be used for? That is it. Remember, I hope you've not forgotten about the Shopee project under a certain government, where they said subsidy was removed and Shopee came on board. Most of those Shopee projects today, where are they? How have they impacted lives? But the truth is, if all government is doing for me, this is my own personal opinion, if all government is doing for me is that you are subsidizing my power because there's no, my generator, because there's no power, I'll say thank you. If all you are doing for me is that probably I have a car to take my family around, you are subsidizing it. Don't forget that I have to repair my car. There's bad road. I can't get train to go everywhere. It's good. If all government is doing is that you are subsidizing that cost of diesel that man that harvests that tomato or that potato in the farm brings to the town to sell, because the road is bad, because there are no silos, there are no preservation things for him to preserve, that is fine. But once those ones are taken away and yet the roads are still bad, yet all these other services are not there, then what is subsidy for?
Now, let us go back to the microfinance. At the time when this revocation, was coming, or a period when you have your members going through such turbulences in operations, didn't you guys see it coming, that at some point these banks were going to go down? If you do, were there any kind of measures to see how you can retain or make them, or just keep them afloat? Or the association does not have any form of, support to, weather the storm when any of your members are having such issues?
Okay, so for the fact that we have the few ones that have been revoked today, it's because the association has worked with a lot of microfinance banks. As at the time the circular was released in 2019, we did our own investigation or audit, and we discovered that about 70% of the microfinance banks as at then were below the capital requirements. So what we did was that we had to now work with these microfinance banks, and we give them various options. That, okay, for those of you that you are in a particular location, because the ones that are the microfinance banks that are close to the community or that are more, they are the they are the unit microfinance banks, and CBN was magnanimous and gracious enough to have it tiered into tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 is for those who operate in state capitals, where you have banking, activities. Yeah, so there are 2 of those in the areas. So we advise some, okay, fine. If all you can do is to move to tier 2, we manage them and we encourage them and work with them to move to tier 2 from tier 1. So at least you can still remain in business. And those that could downscale from either state, we work with them to downscale. So our association came together, work with these MFBs to ensure that we have the numbers that we have today. So we saw, but for the ones that are whose licenses have been revoked now, we can say that these are the ones that probably even before the 2019 they stopped doing business. Yeah, there are still some, not all. I mean, there are still some who could not meet the capital, and of course it's expected. And there are some who really we are working with now because we feel so strongly that their licenses shouldn't have been revoked. In our own opinion, we are looking at that, and we engage the relevant authorities. We have few of them like that. That's after that. So by tomorrow we are meeting with them to really look at their books again and see what went wrong.
Mr. President said from day one they're going to hit the ground running, and indeed Nigerians have seen the effect of hitting the ground running with the first subsidy. From your own point of view, what do you expect from this administration?
Okay, from one point of view, I would say number one, I think I am personally happy. I'm happy. When I saw the long queues on the day of the inauguration, I said, yes, this is good. Because as a leader, you must take a decision. And a leader that says something and everybody reacts to it, that shows that that man is ready to take decision. And so for Mr. President that I know, I think he's ready to take decision. And what we expect from him is that Nigeria needs to be, apart from unity, like he has spoken, security and everything, our businesses need to grow again, and the people or the sector that we deal with, the micro businesses, the small businesses, these are the areas that that you have focus on the micro businesses and the small businesses. I know he has a lot of things up his sleeves. I know he has a lot of people that will advise and consult for him, but I think he should focus more on the micro businesses, the small businesses. An average trader should be able to trade, make little profit, cater for his family, and contribute to the rural economy, and make this country great. So that is the focus that we have. And secondly, we believe that in the last few years, the microfinance subsector, has not been given its rightful recognition. So we hope and we pray that coming on board now, we will have the right recognition from Mr. President. But like I said, I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Now, during the campaigns, part of what Mr. President said at the time was that they were going to provide some level of credit facility and make Nigeria credit facility-driven, economy. How positioned are the microfinance bank to key into this? Because you guys are already doing all that before, but coming from the president now, what as the national president? So
that's why I said that it's great because you cannot grow an economy without credit, and that's what microfinance banks are doing, using their own individual funds, private funds to grow that sector. We believe that it will put that in motion, and we are poised, we are ready, we are positioned to seeing that that particular promise comes to pass, because we are the one that is closest to the community. Go to every local government, you see a microfinance bank. Even at the thick of the insurgency, where most commercial banks couldn't go, microfinance banks were in those local governments, and they ensured that financial services get to those local governments. So we are ready to work with Mr. President and his team in this regard.
As the national president, you want to talk to Nigerians and indeed the banking populace. We instill confidence. What will we be telling them concerning the microfinance bank, yourself, your association?
Okay, so I would say that Nigerians are not new to microfinance banks. When the issue of credit, came to Nigerians, each time Nigerians need to get credit, they know that the most available, easily available partners, they're the microfinance banks. The vocation of licenses, it's normal anywhere in the world, and it comes and it comes and it goes. I just want Nigerians to understand that we still have well over 700 microfinance banks that are strong, virile, active, and solid. And these microfinance banks are there to support businesses, both small and micro businesses. And these are banks that are well regulated. These are banks that even the association is working with to ensure that they deliver on what they should to the public. So I just tell the public that they should not have any fear or let. They should go to these microfinance banks and transact their businesses the way they should. We are still there to support the public. So we are there. 700 microfinance banks are counting $1.5 trillion, so 1.5 trillion naira in assets, 1.2 trillion naira in loans, and over 500 billion naira customers deposits. I don't think the public is getting it wrong by banking with us.
Again, we want to say thank you for always being, a part of this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, the program continues right after this break.
Hello and welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. I want to believe that the president has been able to clear the air and instill confidence in the customers of the microfinance banks in Nigeria. This is where we call it a day on today's episode. Should you miss this broadcast, you can watch it on our YouTube channel or any of our social media handle. I remain Zainab Obitin. See you next week.